Okay, so it's a pretty common theme on the left when talking about big pharma. And look, I have my own issues with big pharma. I'm not saying big pharma is perfect. I'm not saying that there's no valid criticisms of big pharma. Okay, but what I am saying is when you do criticize them, it has to make sense. You have to approach the issue and point out things that are really wrong with it, and your arguments have to make sense. If your arguments don't make sense, then uh, nobody's really going to take it seriously.
For more on this story tonight, we go to Mike Papantonio, host of America's Lawyer, and who has been on the forefront of this opioid crisis, working legal cases around the country. Mike, good to have you with us tonight. Your thoughts on what you just heard in that story, whereas there are still officials who say that this is a drug that can be very helpful. Your thoughts?
Well, it can be. Anytime the FDA starts one of these hysterias, I worry about the FDA. Look, I work against and with the FDA all the time. Had Kratom had the name Merck or Pfizer or Bayer on top of it, we wouldn't be seeing in this. I can promise you, when we look, all the smoke clears on this Kratom hysteria, we will see that the drug industry are the people who are pushing the FDA to do this. I want to put it in perspective. There's an 80 milligram opioid OxyContin that's on the market right now. It's totally unnecessary, completely unnecessary. It's the equivalent, Ed, of a person taking 24 Vicodins. 80 milligrams, the equivalent of 24 Vicodins. Right now, the FDA has been told, get it off the market because all it is a street drug, and the industry has known that a long time. 80 milligram opioid is completely, it's not even something we need, but the industry's behind it. You see, it's got an industry drug manufacturer, big pharma name to it, so the FDA does nothing. But they create this Kratom hysteria, and that's all it is. If you really take a look at the cases that they say 44 deaths, that is absurd. I've got one case I took a look at. This individual was taking olanzapine, pregabalin. He was suffering from OCD, depression, schizophrenia. He had all of those drugs in his body, and you know what they said? They said, well, he took Kratom, and that caused the death. At least half of those 44 cases we're talking about are just like that. FDA will never do anything that crosses big pharma, and that's what we're seeing right here. If FDA really wants to do their job, like they should have done 15 years ago, they would have been getting involved in the opioid crisis, having better warnings, warning doctors about what could happen, helping to close down pill mills. The FDA is wholly owned by the industry. And I'm telling you, I can say that. I've worked against them for 35 years. I've handled virtually every major pharmaceutical case in this country that's gone to trial. And every time we see the FDA lining up with big pharma, and my call on this one is that's what they're doing with Kratom. They've gotten a phone call saying we got to do something about Kratom. It's interfering with the drugs that we're putting on the market.
So there is one word that is the big motivator, and that's profit. And they'll do whatever they have to do to get that profit. Is that the bottom line?
That is exactly the bottom line, and Big Pharma pushes them exactly the direction the FDA will do anything Big Pharma wants them to do. This is another example of that. Is Kratom causing some problems? It may be. But what about the drugs that are out there that the FDA has known about for 20 years, and they refuse to do anything? They're killing thousands of people. 170 people will die today. 170 people will die today because of the inaction in being asleep, in FDA being asleep at the wheel again, intentionally being asleep at the wheel, by the way.
Finally, Mike, how hard is it fighting these companies legally? Give us a legal synopsis at this point.
Well, this is a great example. The case that we're handling against the opioid manufacturers. They have billions of dollars. The influence goes to Congress. It goes to the medical profession. It goes to the Chamber of Commerce. It is a one-way street where it comes to taking on big pharma. And typically every case that we handle is just like that. Big money, big influence, big politics. It is Goliath and David kind of fight.
Okay.
But you know what? This is one we're going to win if they will throw some of these CEOs in prison for what they've done in this opioid crisis. Somebody has to go to jail. That's the only way I consider this a win.
Certainly one of the best in America, host of America's Lawyer, Mike Papantonio, here on RT America. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Okay, so I think everybody knows that Big Pharma is a villain type figure on the left, and I think everybody has their issues with Big Pharma, and I'm in no way saying Big Pharma is perfect or that all the criticisms of Big Pharma are invalid because there are good, legitimate criticisms of Big Pharma. Okay? So attack them for their legitimate faults, but that doesn't mean that you have make up these silly arguments to use against them that are uh, don't really make a lot of sense. It's not that they're a boogeyman. It's not that they're, the spawn of Satan. Okay, look at the things that they're doing, and you can find legitimate things to criticize. But you have to do that with intelligence and with a full understanding of what's going on here. And most of the time, from the left, they don't do that. And I've been seeing these videos and things posted for quite a long time, and I think it's just time to put this whole thing to rest and go back to, legitimate criticisms. So the idea is the proposition that the anti-pharmaceuticals are making is that big pharma tries to suppress things that are treatments that are outside of their purview. For instance, like kratom, a lot of people who are opioid dependent claim that it can help them, and um, the FDA is looking into restrictions on that. So therefore, a lot of people have said, "Oh, that's because big pharma's pushing them to do this." So you can watch on YouTube and you can find hundreds of videos, probably thousands of videos, which advocate for natural remedies, for nutrition-based healing, recommending vitamins, minerals, supplements, herbs, all kinds of things. You can find thousands of those videos. You can go to Amazon, or you can even go to a bookstore, Barnes and Noble, if they still exist. And there you can find books with hundreds of, if not thousands of herbal natural remedies, vitamins, minerals, supplements that are supposed to help with certain ailments. And yeah, and if you will look in every city all over the United States, pretty much, I'm assuming everyone, but damn near everyone, you'll find multiple stores like GNC, Vitamin Shop, chock full of vitamins, minerals, supplements, herbal remedies, natural treatments, all that stuff. Now, what kind of crushing blow has this dealt to the pharmaceutical industry? How has that, are they about ready to implode because everybody's going out and finding out that these natural remedies are almost just as effective but much cheaper? So, therefore, big pharma must be about ready to collapse because it's only a matter of time. But that's not what we see, is it? We see big pharma profits going higher and higher. And yeah, now why is that? And the simple answer to that is that while these natural herbal treatments, nutrition based healing, vitamins, minerals, while they can help some people in certain cases, that has never been shown to be as effective as a modern pharmaceutical. You cannot find one time in history where a major pharmaceutical was displaced by a natural herbal remedy. You're never going to see it. But yet they are out there. There's tons of literature, tons of, access. People have access to this stuff. You can go to any GNC and find thousands of vitamins, minerals, supplements, all for, claiming that they can help with certain ailments, certain conditions, whatever. And in most cases, these options are much, much cheaper than the pharmaceutical option. So, why is that? Shouldn't big pharma have to compete with these natural remedies? For instance, you can go to any vitamin store and get um, it's a herb from a tree called yohimbine, which has an alkaloid in it. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but okay, so the herb is yohimbe, and yohimbine is the extract that they're getting out of that. And so you go to gnc.com, and when you look for that, let's see, they have a 100 count bottle of yohimbe extract, 450 milligrams for 16.99. And this has been used by people throughout the years for male sexual problems, erectile dysfunction, things like that before, you know, they had pharmaceuticals. A lot of people swear by it. And I think a lot of uh, people who are trying to build lean muscle mass use it. It's supposed to have some fat burning properties too. But yeah, so you get 100 for 16.99. That comes out to just 16.99 cents per pill, 17 cents per pill. Okay, so now I've gone to lowestmed.com, which is a drug price searcher, and I've inputted my zip code, and I've done a search for Viagra. I downgraded it for comparison's sake to one tablet, so one pill at the Walmart pharmacy. I assume they're probably the cheapest for people who aren't using insurance, and it comes to 21.44 for one pill. So the other side, the natural alternative, is 17 cents per pill. The pharmaceutical is over $20 per pill. Now we have a capitalist economy where um, goods and services compete against each other um, to get business from the consumer. So why is it that Pfizer can sell Viagra for $21 a pill when there's a natural alternative for 17 cents a pill? How does that work? Shouldn't the drug companies have to compete with these natural alternatives you know, if they're effective? Because if it's even half as effective as the pharmaceutical, then you could take two at a time, and that would be under 40 cents a dose. Okay, now the answer is pretty obvious. They can charge that much more than the natural alternative because it works much, much, much better. It's not even close. It's not even, it's night and day. So when people come out and say, "Oh, big pharma's they're scared of kratom, or they're scared of medical marijuana," no, they're not, because they can be pretty sure that at the end of the day, while these remedies will help some people, in the vast majority of cases, it will not help nearly as well as the product they're selling. Okay? Because if the herbal option was even remotely effective, then you'd see some type of price parity between the pharmaceuticals and the herbal remedy. But when it's astronomically different, you can be pretty sure that Big Pharma is not too scared of kratom. And you can find hundreds or thousands of videos on YouTube. You can find every website on the internet, every website, every doctor, everybody says that um, medical marijuana is the greatest thing ever invented. It can treat any condition, any ailment. It heals everything. It's amazing. There's no drawbacks to it. It's cheaper. It's better. Everybody loves it. Everybody loves medical marijuana. All the doctors love it. Can't get enough of it. It's less addictive, less harmful than any other drug known to man, and does way more. Massive improvement for over every other pharmaceutical option. If you're depressed, smoke a joint. If you have back pain, smoke a joint. If you have trouble sleeping at night, smoke a joint. If you have trouble staying awake during the day, smoke a joint. If your arm is broken, smoke a joint. It'll help it heal faster. So we have nearly universal acclaim from everybody, every doctor, every major organization, just about, all saying how great this is. And then in the past 20 years, we've had from hardly any to now where a majority of states allow um, medicinal marijuana. So this has, nearly bankrupted the pharmaceutical industry, correct? Has it? Is the pharmaceutical industry just as strong as it was 25 years ago? Do they hold now less sway in the, you know, with the government now? Have their stock prices bottomed out as patients en masse turn to medical marijuana? But if you listen to the rhetoric from the other side, every time a state is considering, that doesn't have medical marijuana and is considering it, they'd have you believe that the executives of the pharmaceutical companies are up late in their beds at night, gripped with fear, just terrified that everything's going to come unraveling if one more state, allows medical marijuana. The first 30 or 25, whatever, that did it, no repercussions. But one more state, oh, it's going to be the end of the world for big pharma. These executives, they're just terrified. So even this magical substance which floated down from heaven, a gift from heaven to heal the world, to treat any condition, and that can't really put much of a dent in the pharmaceutical industry. So I don't know why anybody thinks that these herbal treatments and anything are really of much concern to big pharma, because they're not. Now, if you want to know what big pharma's really afraid of, what would keep their executives up late at night terrified, then that's going to be universal health care in the United States of America, some type of government healthcare system. And that's because for quite a while now, Big Pharma has used the American people as a punching bag. Okay, so every major nation on earth has a much more socialized system of medicine than we do. We are the least socialized system out of all major nations. And in these systems with socialized medicine, you have their governments bartering for prices, and you have governments setting price caps on what consumers can be charged to make sure that even these amazing new drugs are still affordable to the average person. Now, big pharma's played quite along with that fine. It's not like if you go to the UK, the top of the line latest pharmaceuticals are absolutely unavailable because they can't make a profit selling them for what the NHS is willing to pay and what they're allowed to charge consumers. So therefore, they don't play ball in England, and they have to rely on third or first or second generation drugs, not the latest top of the line drug. But that's not the case. Big Pharma plays ball with them. Big Pharma negotiates. Big Pharma um, has price caps. Whatever. Charge the people in the United States more, and we'll be okay. So in essence, by us not having that type of system, we allow big pharma to let us subsidize prescription drug costs for basically the whole world. The people in Canada, the UK, Germany, France, they all get to pay less, and big pharma charges us more, and you know that's how it works. So if the United States adopted a socialized system of medicine, the whole thing would fall apart. And then you would probably see nations that have really drastic price caps not be able to have access to your latest and greatest pharmaceuticals because um, they aren't able to make back their research and development costs selling it at such a low price. And without the United States there to make up the difference, it wouldn't work. So what you would probably see in that case would be um, an equalization where prices in the United States begin to come down, and prices in some of those countries who have been the most aggressive at price controls would have to rise a little bit. They wouldn't be able to continue paying pennies on the dollar to what Americans are paying. It would be much more equal. So yes, the truth behind big pharma is that they're not scared by herbal alternative treatments. They're just not. The only thing they are scared of would be the gravy train coming to a stop, which would be price controls or uh, price negotiations by the United States.